Hi guys, my name is Koketso Naledi and this is Inside Story, a show where we have conversations about holistic wellness. Today I have Londeka Sishi. She's an actor. You might know her from Adulting on Showmax. You are divine.
Thank you.
I think you
you're
have a
divine
wonderful
too.
life. Do you know that?
Thanks.
Why do you look surprised?
I just that's a very it's an uncommon thing to say, I think, and so I think it will catch you a little because I don't know.
I think you radiate this. Obviously, I'm just gonna call it glory.
Oh,
because
thank
that's
you.
what it needs to be, you know?
I receive that. I receive that in confidence. I'm gonna carry that. I'm like, excuse me, Koketso told me, so you better. She let me in. Thank you. I think you're absolutely gorgeous as well, and you radiate glory. Now we know what it is, glory.
But anyway, how are you doing today? How's everything going? How are you doing? Did anything happen? Anything special happen this morning? Or anything happen to just disturb your day, whether positively or negatively?
If I'm being really honest, I was actually having this conversation with a friend last night, and he was just asking me the same thing. How are you? How are you doing? I'm like, can I tell you, work has consumed me so much that I haven't really taken time to dissect my feelings or to compartmentalize how I'm feeling and that kind of stuff. I've just been so engrossed and so consumed by work and the pressures of work and just trying to it's like this cycle, where you go into set, you're shooting the whole day, you come back, you have to prepare for the next day because it's a long day. So I've just kind of been stuck in that loop where that's all that I've been consuming myself with. And last night, I think this is the great thing that happened. I got to pause and I'm like, okay, instead of complaining and being so in my feelings about it, I'm going to take a moment and just be grateful because somebody said that a normal day to you is a dream for somebody else. So
that's really true.
I'm here going, but somebody else is going, look, a job, bro. If I can get a job, something. So I got to go back and just reflect, and I'm like, oh Lord, I'm actually so grateful. That's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling.
I'm glad. So what does holistic wellness mean to you?
I thought long and hard about this one.
Really?
I did. I was like, I'm gonna sound crazy. But in my look, it's. I think it can be a subjective answer because it will depend on the individual and what overall wellness looks like for you. But for me, I think it's just finding harmony and balance and cohesion with your mind, your body, and your soul. Just trying to find that place of tranquility where all are aligned and not one is louder than the other. So doing everything intentionally just to kind of bring that balance, whether it's you reading your word or you finding time to meditate and pray, but also eating well and finding time to go to the gym and conversating, connecting with people, doing all the things that feed.
Yes, exactly. That feed your soul. Looking after your finances. In your case, your daughter as well. Your family. Your friends. When everything is balanced. I love it so much. So tell me, how was your childhood like?
My childhood. Look, I had, how when you're in something and it's completely fine, it's completely normal, and you're having the time of your life, but the people that are looking from the outside and they're going, no.
We don't think that's
okay.
What's going on?
What's going on? So for me, my childhood, honestly, I had a very happy childhood. I was so. I think my great grandmother was a really big formative part of just my being and the founding of my being, how she just poured so much of love into me, and she was always present, and it was just always, she fed me love more than anything. And so I was literally, I always say I'm full to the brim when it comes to that. So it's so easy for me to pour it out because there's so much where that comes from. So my childhood was filled with so much of love, I grew up in the early part of it. I was in the deep rural areas with my great grandmother. In retrospect, I do kind of realize now that I think we weren't as wealthy and as rich.
Don't we all?
Growing up, I'm like, no, guys, come to my house. My coco's probably gonna cook something.
Yeah.
Guys, come over. But now
And it's
looking
crazy how
back,
that was normal and it was fulfilling, right?
All the kids in the area would come, would have like, and Coco would just whip up something quick, like, you know what I mean? Would have, whether it's rice and curry or whatever it is, she just whip, and everybody would eat, you know, and it was nice, man. But now looking back, I do see that there were a couple of gaps. But again, I think the love that was in the room filled and made up and almost kind of blinded you to the shortfalls or the things that weren't there. And then from there, I then moved to go stay with my mother, who is an ordained apostle.
Oh, really? You're a pastor's kid?
I'm a pastor's kid.
Oh, it explains the energy and the light. Okay. Keep talking.
Yeah. Words. Use words. So then I moved and I stayed with my mother, and it was a very different world. My great grandmother, who was very free and very free spirited, and who just had, very warm. I think her thing was, she, looking back again, I think, there was a belief that the thing that whatever you pour out into the world will sustain you. Yeah. And my great grandmother was known in the entire area of Mihlomnyama as umemcele. You know, whenever you wanted anything, or even needed anything, just go kamemcele uzoba. If you didn't have a place to stay, go kamemcele, she'll figure it out. So she was that person, and by virtue of that, we belonged to the community of Mihlomnyama. Yeah. So she knew, even if I'm not home, wherever I'm at, I'll be fine. Somebody will know, and in the event that I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, I'm going to get myself whooped by some stranger.
There goes you.
Yeah. You know, but she was very free, like, with that. She's just like, lungile, whatever. I go to my mom's house and I expect the same sort of thing, and my mom was a lot stricter. So I couldn't do the whole, hey friends, come over, or me going to friends. Yeah. It became a very different world, which I also now, I'm truly grateful for, because I think it saved me and it sustained me from a lot of things and for a long time until, So that was my childhood.
It sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful. Is there something that you remember from when you were 4 or 5 or 6, even 13? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
A story or an event that happened in your life that sort of defined your life altered your life afterwards? I know there's a lot of stories, right, as you grow up, but I want the formative years. Is there something that happened there?
In my early years? I think the moving from my great grandmother to my mother, that had me in a state of confusion for a very long time, because of also, I like I said, I grew up with my great grandmother, and she was my entire world, and I was so happy, comfortable, confident there, and I was seen and I was heard, and everything I said mattered, and it was very intimate. To then moving to my mother, who was married already at the time, and they were, my older siblings were staying with her. So now I get here and I'm like, I'm no longer the only one. Like, I'm not.
The attention is split.
Not everybody's getting a bit of this love. Wait. Number one. And then just wrapping my mind around the idea of male and a female in like one space and what that looks like, and because it was so foreign to me, it was like a really weird adjustment. I didn't know how to interact with the man. I'm like, so
what's going on?
Is he like my dad? Is he like, is he one of those people? Because I know Coco has a habit of doing this. Coco, there's all kinds of aunties and uncles that come stay here. So, and then, I think over time, that was very confusing for a while. Being just like thrown into a world where you have to kind of slot yourself in and adjust. And so it did a lot for my confidence, because I had to retract. You know, when you go into a foreign space, you really just want to kind of study how welcome you are there and what your limits and boundaries are. and just knowing your place also in that space. So I think it really did it knocked my confidence. I was scared to speak out. I was scared to voice my thoughts. Coming from the home that I came from, where I was very bubbly, here it's like, mom, see, calm down, like, you know. And funny enough, I recently found myself like calling myself to order when I say that to my daughter. I'm like, you're too much, like calm down, like shh. And I realized, oh wait, no, that might be trauma talking.
Exactly, it's trauma talking.
Yeah.
And also you're creating something else, right?
Yes.
A displacement that you felt, you're now carrying it into a different generation.
You know what I mean?
And then it grows, you don't know. Obviously, we hope that our daughters, our children become better than us, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously, that's what we want. But you don't know in the long run what it's going to do to her and her children. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm glad you're away.
Oh, I think I went into a moment of just like wanting to just pray and being so grateful. I'm like, Lord, yo, you know when they say you are a present God, you really are an on-time present God. You don't wait to rebuke later.
Yeah.
And the fact that you called me, you called me out now so I can rectify it now and go, actually, baby, I'm so sorry. No, as you were, go on.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes to show that the Lord is saying, be careful. Like you're planting something here. She's gonna now grow up with that same thinking, or say I'm too much, and you walk into a space and you just want to kind of find a corner that's safe.
Apologize for existing.
Apologize for existing.
Shrinking, you know, and
so
that's not good, especially for an African child. Tell me, you sound like such a surrendered person. How do you do that? And what do you understand of surrender? What is surrender to you, and how do you surrender?
Oh my goodness. I'll be very honest. It didn't come. It was not an automatic. I got saved, and then like now it has truly been a journey of constant repentance. It's been a journey.
I know what you're talking about.
Every time I think, oh, okay, cool, no, God and I are buddies, we got this thing. God says, no, fix your heart, no, fix your mind, fix your tongue, fix your this. And I'm just like, but like I'm always fixing, like when is it ever good enough? But yeah, I think my surrendering has come from being chastised a lot by God and being convicted a lot by God, and by also in the same breath, it's been like I always joke around with my friends and family, and I'm like, yo, my relationship with God is very violent. Like God he's not scared of me. Like one thing, he is not afraid of hurting my feelings. No, but I just mean he's my dad. He should care about my feelings, you know. And he's just like, no, if it's going to lead you to a death.
Do you know the parable? I think the parable of the vineyard or something.
Yeah.
Where he hires people standing without work, right?
Yes.
Come work in my vineyard. And then around 3, he goes again, finds others standing at the supermarket or something. And like, you can come through as well. Around 4, he does the same thing, right? And he promised the one he hired in the morning that I'm going to pay you this much, right?
Yeah.
And then when they knock up, the one who came at 4 actually gets paid the same amount as the first one, right? And now they wanted to complain. And then he's like, no, but I told you, I'm going to pay you this much. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Why do you have a problem when I have compassion? Anyway,
so
it is my money. So God can do whatever he wants when he wants to.
Okay, I hear you.
When he wants to. You are his. He can do whatever you want. Anyway.
It's a very hard pill to swallow. And I think it would
is.
be nice for it to be a conversation that is had in our community, in the Christian community, just a conversation of compassion. Because I really think that that's one of the elements that are really we're short of. Like we are so happy to proclaim our stance on who we are and how we are children of God. But when it comes to the element of compassion, I think the humanness in us kicks in when somebody has done you wrong and suddenly they find the light. It almost hurts to know that shouldn't they be punished for hurting me the way that they have?
Don't you think it's because we haven't really come to understand the concept of love? Because you can't have compassion if you don't understand what love is, right?
Sure, that's good.
And you can't love if you don't have compassion.
Oh, that's so good.
Right? So we don't understand what really love is, because he says, I want love. I require mercy and not sacrifice. So we constantly want to go and sacrifice, fast and pray, sacrifice, right? But he wants the act of doing, right? Thank you so much.
I agree
for
with that. Absolutely. And I that's what I'm saying. Like I really wish we had a lot more conversations around that instead of the God of breakthrough and the God of miracles and the God of instant turnaround, things.
Because it's not that. If you have a relationship with God, you know it's not that. It's never that, and you take longer.
Yeah, and those things they're byproducts. They're like
That's very true.
That's so good.
So generally, as a person in life walking this journey, how do you take care of your mental health?
So by nature, I have been a very stubborn person. Like for the longest time, I felt like I've always had a point to prove, and I understand where that comes from. I've always just felt like if there's a mission, I must do it. I must go. I must da 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 da. But one thing that the Lord has successfully managed to do in my life is to humble me and make me realize that. He's like, I saw a video on Instagram where this lady was talking about a glove. She's like, when you buy a glove on its own, it is unable to do anything. Like it may be pretty, it may be all of these things, but it's unable to do anything. The only time the glove has value or it's able to do anything is when there's a hand in it. So when you put the hand in, then the glove can grip, can do this, but on its own it can't. And we are the same. Like we're these vessels that are actually unable to do anything without being empowered. So the only time you are of any value is when you possess the Holy Spirit in you.
Exactly.
Who's so many things, man. He is your counselor, he's your friend, he's your father, he's your rebuker as well. So the way I take care of my mental health is I consult. So I go back to God and I'm like, look, Lord, I have very honest conversations with God. I don't know what it looks like for anybody else, but for me, I go, look, I'm here and I feel very strongly about this, right? But at the same time, I don't want to go, in my understanding, walk like long miles and, travel far, in my own understanding, only to find that you need me back at this point. So if you could give me the clarity, as well as just the willing spirit that David asks for, to be able to take it, and in the moments where I cannot take it, please be patient with me while I find ways,
and while I try to be obedient.
Yes,
right?
I try to be obedient.
Because he says obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yes.
So now you are journeying through life. You're in high school. You live with your mom now. You're a stepfather. What is happening during this time? How are you sort of navigating your mental health? What's happening in your life? What events are happening in your life?
It was the pits. I'm not even going to lie to you. That period, it was almost hellish. So many things happened there. I lost my great-grandmother. So she passed when I was in high school. I think I was in grade 10. And that was the biggest blow of my life. I don't think I've ever experienced heartache to that extent, because even just like, it's one of those things that I seldomly talk about, because when I do, I'm almost... And this was many, many years ago, but the pain is still so...
Which year was it?
This 10, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, I think 20.
It's not that long though.
Yeah.
Grief is not linear. Sorry, go on.
Yes. But it was just one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. And it was hard to come back from that, because it was almost as if... And it's not a thing of magnifying your grief over other people, but it's just going, I feel so displaced now, because I always had a place that I could go to when everything was just not, it was too much. Or at least I had, even if it's a subconscious thing, that there's love and abundance there that you could always tap into, that you could always just think of, and you're healed and you're fine. But now this thing has been taken from me, and people almost just expect me to move on. And
I love that held space for you as well. You felt so safe.
So that felt like it was taken from me, and I felt like it was just really hard to reconcile and find myself again. And so that completely changed me. I then went, and I was desperate for healing. That was another thing. I was so desperate for healing, and I was trying to find it in so many different ways. I was trying to find it through friends, through, you know, being rebellious. I was trying to find it by going through different, going into different spiritual paths. I was a heavy chakra hand at some point. I was like, I need my crystals because I gotta, you know, manage the energy around me and whatever. And it's no shade to anybody who believes in that.
Definitely.
I'm just saying that, like, it was I was desperate for healing, and I was desperate for this void to be filled. It just wasn't getting filled. And then shortly after that, my biological father passes away, and I had just met him. So I'm like,
you just met him?
Yes.
Like grandmother?
Yes. So
I'm really sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, so it was the pits for me. My mental health then was just like,
I can imagine.
yeah. The whole entire time, right up until I finished school. I remember when I was studying for my matric exams, I didn't study at all for a single one.
Really?
For a single one.
How did you pass?
I passed by the grace of God, I think. But also because, I mean, I'd like to believe I'm a fairly intelligent person. Like, if we have a conversation right now, it will stay. So when I was in the exam room, I was referencing back to class. I was like, oh, I remember ma'am speaking about this. I remember seeing this somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, so that helped, and I, you know, passed really well.
Yeah.
But it was just, and then after that, I was just like,
Take me through moving from that to varsity to having your daughter to the person that you are today.
now, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was not happy, right, at home, and it's for various reasons. I remember going, as soon as I'm done, I'm leaving. Come hell or high water, I'm getting out of here, because ngangifuna ukuyiphatha.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to listen to authority. I don't want to be told that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just wanted to live my life by my terms and Thankfully, my terms weren't as radical as most people my age at the time. But I think I just wanted to breathe, right? And I wanted to be able to feel what I feel without having to. So then I left home. I went first year. Well, I was living my life. I never lost sight of God. God had always been there. I'd always been a child of God. I'd always been, and like I said, I really believe in an honest relationship with him.
I love that, because he never leaves.
No, he never leaves. But I left a couple of times, and as much as he was there, I won't lie. I walked out, and when the chips were down, I would remember that the only place I can run back to is God. Yes. Yeah. And then I had that very toxic relationship. I'll call it a toxic relationship with him for a while, because I was toxic.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to admit to the fact that I was toxic, because I was so engrossed in my pain, and my pain was valid, and my pain was just all that I saw, and all of this. And so I went into it. A lot of other stuff happened there. There was school, work, relationshiping, and then until I crashed, I couldn't balance all of it. And then I continued, and I met the father of my child. Him and I dated for a short while, and I told him, I was like, look, hey man, I'm tapping out, you know, not in so many words, but the space that I was in, I've spoken about this before. I was lacking purpose. I was lacking reason, and I didn't get why I was here. You know, a big part of me was just like, okay, I've done it. Okay, I've done the church thing half-heartedly. I've done the going out, I've done the drinking, I've done the partying, I've done the jollaring, I've done all of it, and none of it is satisfying me, and I still feel like I'm so empty, and I just don't want to be here anymore. And I was like, the only thing that could save me is a reason. I need a reason to wake up. I need a reason to be here. And the only thing that made sense to me at the time was a child. So I asked for a baby. I said to him, can I please?
And how old are you?
At this point, I was 21.
How did you know you needed a baby at 21?
maybe a baby is not what I needed.
Yeah.
Maybe, but and in that moment, that's all that made sense. I was like, because I've done it all. Like I've the partying are not enough to keep me here. The partying is not enough to keep me here. Dating is not enough to keep me here. Like there's
You sorry to interrupt you, but you speak so casually of it. But when I envision it in my mind, it sounds so like it was a very difficult
it was
time.
very painful.
I don't want to say dark, but
Yeah.
it sounds like it was very dark days of your life.
It was.
You know?
It was very dark days of my
Yeah.
life. But again, I think, how do I word it? I think I didn't quite recognize the intensity of it when I was going through it.
Yeah.
There's this thing that our mind does where to protect us, it shields us from certain emotions and it shields us from certain realities. And it gives you a glimpse of what's happening.
Yeah.
To save you, your mind will literally block out certain information so that you're not consumed by it, because it could kill you.
Yeah, it could kill you.
It could literally kill you.
Subconscious,
Yeah. So I think that's what was happening at the time. I knew it was bad. I knew I was not doing well.
Yeah.
But to be very, very honest, I do, and this is why I love God so much. You cannot. Literally, there's nothing. You know when Peter says, "No heights, no depths."
Yeah.
Like nothing can separate me from the love of
Yeah.
God. When you recognize, even in those moments, His hand was still so mighty over me that He was like, "I'm going to keep this one from. I'm going to allow her to make mistakes, but I'm still going to refuse with her until she comes back to her senses."
Yeah.
And it was that. And when I was pregnant with Lily, I literally, honest to God, I say she saved my life. Like I came back to life. All of a sudden, I had a reason. All of a sudden, I could not mess up anymore. I had to get it together, because there is this pure, innocent soul that is coming into this world that I'm solely responsible for, and I have to do the best that I can to make sure that she doesn't have the life that I've had, or I shield her from as much as I can. And that's how, again, my relationship with God started to redevelop. I remember early pregnancy times, I was the happiest girl.
Yeah.
Glowing. I was just like, I was so happy. I was toddling, like I was in my own little world.
Yeah.
But as the months got closer and this child was now coming, then it hit me. And I'm like, you're having a baby. Child, what am I going to do?
Oh man, God's plan.
And then all of it flipped. I was like, Lord, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm here now. I've made decisions, I've made mistakes. And I was like, if anything, there was the prodigal child in the Bible. And I think if you're that same God and that same God of mercy, I think I've come to my senses.
Yeah.
I realized that there is absolutely no way
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to do this outside of you. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this while I'm half in, half out. I understand that you are my support, you are my help, you are my father, you are my safe space, and this child comes from you, so help me.
Yeah.
And again, I really think that's when I started coming to my senses. And Lily came and my life changed. And like I said to you, now I had reason, I had purpose. I'm like, I have to contribute positively to the world, because this is the world that I'm bringing her into, so I have to be intentional about what I do, the seeds that I'm planting, the way I treat people, because I'd like to believe, like in my grand's case, that when I'm not there physically, the way I've handled our relationship, you happen to be there and you see her, you will take her like she's your child. And that's just both literally, figuratively, and in any other way that you can imagine. So then I was very intentional, and I was like, look, I am going to completely submit, surrender, and yield. And life has been very interesting.
So your story is quite interesting because it's sort of defined by life and death, which are the principles, main principles of life, right?
It's good. I never really thought about it that way.
Your grandmother died, and so to sort of fix that, not really fix though, to sort of fall back into your purpose.
Sure.
You had to give birth. You had to give birth to life, which is really beautiful, right? So tell me how. I know you've already spoken a bit about your daughter, but what does she mean to you? I know you've spoken a bit about it just now. What does she mean to you?
I'm like laughing and smiling because I don't want to cry.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean to make you cry.
Oh man.
But it's a safe space.
Sure. Uliana, first of all, her name means it's raining.
What's that word?
Yes, it means it's raining.
Yeah.
And when you think of the abundance of raindrops, right, and what rain means, what rain does to soil, to plants, to animals, to everyone who, it's a source of life, right? So that name for me, for her, is it's very prophetic. It's also one of those things where you speak life and you speak a blessing over this thing because of what it's done for me, right? So Uliana, at her small age, has managed to not only save my life, give me purpose, but also inspire me and lead me to a place where I want to be better and I want to be a better person.
I love that.
Not just for her, not just for me, but just in general, you know. And I really truly believe that the Spirit of God sits so heavy on her because of the things that she's managed to do to me in, you know, her short life so far. Uliana calls me out. She will tell me, "Mommy, you're shouting. Talk properly, I can hear you, you know. Mommy, it's okay, I'll just sit here with you. Mommy, are you having a bad day? It's okay, I'll sit here with you. Mommy, are you hungry?" She's you know. So she means that to me. She means life. She means a chance. She means grace. She means mercy. She means, you know, when you get something so good and you know in your heart of hearts you are not deserving.
Yeah.
Like you can try and spin it how you spin it, but when you sit down by yourself in your time, you know that this gift that I've been given, I am like the least deserving person of this. So she's taught me favor, and she's taught me what it's like to just to be seen.
Yeah, I love that.
To
be seen.
my
I love
world.
that. Wonderful. I love your story.
Thank you.
So you spoke a bit about purpose. Liana gave you purpose. So what do you understand purpose as? Because it can't only be Liana, right?
Yeah.
The purpose of your life as a whole.
Yeah. So, like, I think I'm not sure yet, right? But I have this idea or this belief that purpose comes from somewhere. There has to be a source of purpose, right? And your purpose then is what drives you and what guides you. You do everything because you are called by your purpose, and it pulls you and it leads you and things like that. So my purpose came from her, right? Well, we know the source is God, but it came through her to serve.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe that that's what my purpose is. It's a lot of us want the fame, and we want to be acknowledged or to be associated with a thing or whatever the case may be, and we don't understand the principle of serving and the principle of like being able to support, right? And I truly believe that my purpose is to serve people, and that again comes through her from God. Would see when you really look at it, the whole reason God, in his majesty, as great and as wonderful and as powerful and as beautiful as he was, he created man to serve man. And how we know that is the way that he structured creation. He created everything that we were going to need and put us last, so that we are, we're okay. And everything that is here then serves you. And even he as God, in moments like when you're stuck and you don't know what to do, he's the one who shows up, right? To a point where he even subjected himself to death so that you could have life. And that's a form of serving, right? And if we were to emulate our lives and look unto Jesus and live our lives according to the scope that God has given us, it truly is just to serve. Like, I'm called here to serve you.
I love that because then it goes into a conversation of, you are not what you do. What you do can never be your purpose.
Absolutely not.
It can never be your purpose.
Absolutely not.
What happens when acting is not there? What happens when producers not there? What happens
when the jobs don't come?
When the jobs don't come.
Because the jobs don't
So
come sometimes.
you're not gonna live. You're not gonna serve. You
Yeah.
know. I love that so much.
So you said something so incredible earlier. You said a lot of incredible things. But one of the things that like really just like it was nice to hear for a change is you said you are not your work. You know, you're not what you do. You know what I mean? It can't be your purpose. And one of the things that have really just like rocked me as a child of God, as a believer, as a pastor's child, and as somebody who is so engrossed, you know, who's completely consumed by my relationship with God and my faith.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of interesting chats with Christians, particularly, and people in our community that would come and go, but like, how are you standing for Jesus, but also, you know,
you're
serving?
an
Yeah, you're an actor because it comes with fame and it takes away the glory from God and it puts the glory on you. Number one, and number two, the things that you guys do when you're like acting, the intimate scenes and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I've not known what to say and how to like answer that. But I'm taken back to what you were saying about how you're not your job, you know, and it's something that I really wish we had a lot more compassion for just each other. I think we're so prone to reproach and calling each other out, where we kind of go, my Jesus is bigger than you. Like it's like we don't
self-righteous.
It can very much lean to the self-righteous side of things, where we go, oh, it's okay if I'm a lawyer and I'm a born again person and I'm representing a hardcore criminal because I'm doing my job. But you can't be an actor and make love on screen. You know what I mean? It's terrible. You're promoting sex and nudity and all those kinds of things. And it's like, my job is to tell stories. That's what I do. And when I wear a character, I disassociate from Londeka. You know, it's one of those things where you put on that disclaimer, which is, the views expressed here do not necessarily represent those of the channel, type of thing. And it's like, I really wish that in our space we could lean more towards the love that you spoke about, and even when we wanna practice the reproach and we do it in a manner that's not self-righteous, in a manner that's not condemning, because Christ came not to condemn the world. You know what I mean? There's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And if you are in Christ Jesus, what gives you the authority to be condemning?
Exactly.
You know, so that's a conversation that's been happening for a while. It's been really uncomfortable around me. And it's one of those where I've just been like, you know, you're afraid to say something because anybody can misconstrue anything that you say, and they go, oh no, but she said, you know, and now you're almost put in a position where you have to defend something that you're like, but
it's not like that.
It's not like that.
And acting also, it's healing. It's a ministry.
It is.
Acting is a ministry. It's healing. It's a purpose, actually, because if your purpose is healing and serving, because it's a selfless craft, right? So
I have to embody uncomfortable characters sometimes to allow you to see yourself and heal, or see something that you're familiar with. Oh, thank you.
This has been a wonderful conversation. Pretty short, I tell you.
It felt very short.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Righty.
Thank you for having me. And I'm just going to be praying for you guys. I think, like I said, a lot of good conversations are being had here to allow people to see themselves, and we need a lot more of that. So we're definitely praying for God to edify you and to open doors and to place His hand over you.
See what I was talking about when you walked in? Was I wrong? I wasn't wrong.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mama.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you too. God bless.
And thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Please do subscribe to our channel. Put on that notification bell button so that you're notified every time we release a video. Now, we have a new episode for you every Thursday. I really do hope you enjoyed the conversation. We enjoyed having this wonderful chat, and we'll see you next time. Please tell us what you think in the comment section. We'll see you next time.